So recently, Charles Barkley was on the Steam Room podcast with Ernie Johnson, and he made an announcement. And he said, "I'm informing NBC that I will not accept their offer. I'm going to cancel future meetings with Amazon. My heart is always and will be at Turner Sports." So this stems from the fact that this is the last season of the NBA on TNT. Adam Silver got into it with David Zaslav, the head of Warner Discovery. That David Zaslav last year said that TNT did not need the NBA, and Adam Silver, when the NBA's contract was up, took the games over to NBC, Peacock, and Amazon. David Zaslav is a complete idiot. I hope Warner Discovery fire him for the next couple of years because he's going to rule the day of letting go of the NBA. I mean, I don't think he understood, like, one, the production of those games on TNT. The best coverage of the NBA overall is on TNT. It's not ABC. It's not ESPN. It's definitely not going to be NBC when it goes over there. It's always been turned. They have the best analysis, the best analysts, the best everything. And David Zaslav had no idea when he said TNT doesn't need the NBA. I don't think he really understood what he was going to lose. But on the flip side, I've always said this, Adam Silver's going to regret it because that NBC coverage is not going to be as good as the TNT coverage. The ratings has already been going down this season, just overall in basketball. And the coverage over there is not going to be as good. I mean, it's going to be led by Mike Tirico, and Reggie Miller's going over there from TNT. It's going to be Ian Eagle and Jamal Crawford. They're going to be the announcing teams. I don't know who's going to be the studio team. Whoever it is, it's not going to be as interesting as inside the NBA. Over on Amazon, you got Taylor Rooks, and I think it's going to be Taylor Rooks, Blake Griffin, and Dirk Nowitzki. They're going to be the pregame and postgame show. Now, listen, Blake is funny, Dirk is Dirk, and Taylor Rooks is beautiful. Now, if I was 25 years old, I probably would get Amazon just to see Taylor Rooks. But I'm out of that age group now. As much as I adore Taylor Rooks, if I want to get Amazon, if I'm going to get Amazon Prime, I'm going to get it for watching multiple shows, not just for her. But 25-year-old me, absolutely. Unk age, nah, not so much. She is fine. But still, but none of these shows are as good as Inside the NBA. So Kenny Smith resigned with Inside. Shaq resigned with Inside. Ernie's already been there. They all staying with Turner Sports, and Charles is still a wild card. He's going to resign with them, but he was telling Ernie, "Well, I'm going to go talk to ESPN and Turner." So you don't know what's going on. So next year, Inside the NBA will still be around. Turner Sports is still going to produce it. It's still going to be in Atlanta, but they're going to film it and license it out to ESPN. So basically, Inside the NBA is going to be the pregame and postgame shows on ESPN, which is great because ESPN's pregame and postgame shows over there has always been trash. Not completely terrible, but it's like I don't tune in and watch their pregames and postgame shows. I never had. So it's very smart that Turner did this with ESPN because it was. Listen, it both worked out. Turner keeps Inside the NBA, and people love that show. And I'm interested to see what type of financial cut Turner gets from this. And ESPN gets a known quantity product that people love. Now, here's the thing of ESPN and Disney: leave those guys alone. If they have any questions, talk to those guys, but don't try to censor Charles. Don't censor Kenny. Don't censor Shaq. The reason those shows work because basically that show is on 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. It's a late night show. And people always enjoy it because those guys can speak freely and they have to worry about any corporations or people say, "Well, Charles, you can't say this. You might offend this part of the country." No. Like Charles Barkley understands that he can't say everything. He understands that, but he does walk the line, but it works. Leave those guys alone. And one of the things that Charles wanted to discuss with ESPN and was that, and he said this a long time ago. He said, "I don't want to be worked like a dog." Like you see some people, some analysts, they're on, you see them in the morning, you see them on Get Up, and then you also see them on Sports Center, and then you see them at 1 a.m. Sports Center, they're on all day. And Charles was like, he said this for years. They said, the reason I don't work for ESPN because I'm not going to be worked like a dog. And he's absolutely true. He had that nice gig on Turner, and it's like, man, I'm making all this money. I'm working maybe once or twice a week. Ain't no way I'm going to be on ESPN all the time, every day, talking about the same thing. He said that for years. So most likely, I think they'll find a happy medium. I think Charles he'll do Inside, but then he'll probably be on maybe Get Up or First Take or Party Interruption, and maybe do that once a week. Or once a week, one of the inside guys will pop up on these shows. So maybe one week it's Charles, and then Shaq, and then Kenny, and then maybe Ernie. So they rotate around, so they won't be overdoing it. But I don't know how they're going to do it, but I think they'll work that out. So what do you guys think? What do you think? Do you think it's a good move to Charles Barkley staying on Inside the NBA? Do you think he should have gone with NBC or Amazon? I think the same thing. See, I don't think Amazon and NBC would have given him the same freedom. Amazon probably, but definitely not NBC. Yeah, I read someplace some people were saying, well, it's time for Charles Barkley to retire. He's always negative. He's not. Charles isn't negative. He's just telling the truth. And I think we live in a world today where people don't want to hear the truth. It's almost like everything is sugar coated, or everybody gets a trophy, right? But Charles is like, no, you're not. If you're not playing well, he'll tell you. Now Shaq sometimes he gets a little petty. He's the petty one. People always talk about Charles. No, Shaq is the one that's kind of petty. But no, Charles kind of tells it like it is. So I'll say, okay, fine. If you guys don't like Charles Barkley, who do you want to see? Like, who's out there as an analyst is entertaining as Charles Barkley? And I'd agree. Like, Charles in his 60s. Like, sooner or later, Charles Barkley is going to retire. But who do you have to replace them? I'm sure, because when Draymond popped up, when Golden State was bounced out in the playoffs, I think Draymond popped up on these show on Inside the NBA, and it's almost like, I'm not a Draymond guy. Like, he doesn't really. Charles Barkley's always been funny, controversial, interesting. Draymond's never been that interesting to me. Draymond's one of those dudes who thinks he's interesting. Now, he got the podcast, and that's fine. And I'm sure once he retires, he'll probably end up on NBC or Amazon. So that probably will happen down the road. I'm sure he'll be fine. I just don't care to see him. He annoys me. Plus, Charles Barkley was a bona fide Hall of Famer. Even though he never won a championship. Numbers-wise, skill-wise, Charles was fantastic. Draymond, if you take Draymond off the Golden State Warriors, I don't know if Draymond would have been a Hall of Famer. I think he would have been a productive player, but I don't know if he would have been a Hall of Famer. Charles Barkley, wherever he was, would have been a Hall of Famer. Charles was that great. And he was that funny, and he was that interesting. He always told how he felt. So from day one, you kind of knew that Charles Barkley was going to be a great analyst. You just wasn't sure how funny he was going to be. Draymond, like, So if I get past Draymond, like, who's on there? Who's on TV right now? That's the studio work that you really is entertained by. I mean, Big Perk, Richard Jefferson, Cheney. She's okay, I guess. Cheney's okay, but I mean, there's nobody that I'm looking at. I was like, wow, I really want to see them. Dudes don't like Malika anymore. That's been over. There's really no Bob Myers. Bob Myers is okay. The only guy I think of outside Mike Breen calling the games, the only guy that I can think of over at ESPN that I want to see is Shams. And before that, it was Woj. Because Shams is not trying to be funny. Shams is not trying to be a comic. Shams is not trying to prove how smart he is. Shams is actually doing the work of a journalist. Shams is doing the work of, I got this tip, I heard this thing, I heard this, this is a rumor I heard, or this is something that I talked to, I fact checked it. Like, he's an actual sports journalist. And that's the thing that I think I want to see more often. I want to see more sports journalists who's actually good at this and entertaining, right? And so Shams is the only person that I look at over there when it comes to NBA coverage that I'm really like. And before him, again, it was Woj. I don't know if NBC has anybody over there that I actually really care about. Not a big Mike Tirico fan. Jamal Crawford's okay. Richard Miller's okay going over there, the NBC. But outside of that, I don't know. So what do you guys think about Charles Barkley staying with TNT? He hasn't signed yet, but it seems like he's staying there. What do you guys think about Charles staying over there with TNT? Think it's a good move? Do you think he should have moved? I think he's fine where he is. The question is, who's going to be the next Charles Barkley? I don't have a clue.